I'm very thankful to be here today, and I really appreciate the guys that we got coming here that you're going to be hearing about today. They had a lot of work to do. They were up early today doing an outreach this morning, and now they're here again. And the two number questions they asked me while we were doing this outreach, first, number one question they asked, when are we going to Tim Hortons? After we're finished here, guys. Second question is, do we get to sleep in tomorrow? And the way I answer that is, ask my boss. Oh, that's the one to ask? There we go. You're about to meet 6 amazing guys. And the number one thing each of them have in common is that they have come from lives of broken relationships. Their spirits have been broken, and most importantly, their relationship with God has been broken. All because of addiction. Teen Challenge started in the 1950s, and all David Wilkerson wanted to do was reach the gangs of New York. And the first person he contacted and he met there was a man by the name of Nicky Cruz. David Wilkerson would say, "This is a hard man." And he never thought he could reach him. But Nicky Cruz would go on to be the very first convert for Teen Challenge. And in the world today, Teen Challenge has gone worldwide. They say right now, 180 million people around the world are stuck in addictions. And with Teen Challenge, worldwide, there's really only about 22,000 beds. So there is a great need for growth. For us, we live in a little small town, about 600 people, well, maybe about 5 to 10 kilometers outside of Allen, Saskatchewan. It's a 24-bed facility. The residents live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for a 1-year program. And through that time, they experience, in the mornings, they wake up, devotions every single morning. I say this is vital for anyone, not just people who have been involved in addictions, but all people. Devotions need to be a vital part, but especially for someone in addictions. Whenever somebody leaves our program, those who end up going back to their addictions, the first thing they say that went was their devotions. After that, we have worship at about 9 o'clock every morning, where we both worship God and they get to hear different speakers. Sometimes it's people on site, sometimes it's guest speakers. About 10 o'clock, maybe 2-3 times a week, they have classes. And this can be on a whole wide range of subjects. I've done biblical classes, I've done classes on attitudes, anger. I even once did a class on financial management, and just all over the place. In the afternoon, the guys head off to work detail. Sometimes that's on-site, sometimes it's off-site. Last year, we actually helped a couple in Allen, Saskatchewan renovate a brand new home for their parents. And so it was a great opportunity not only for the guys to get involved in the community, but some of them to even learn a bit of a trade. As I said, you're going to meet these just amazing guys. Some of these guys who come into our program come with nothing but the shirts in their back. I actually remember that a student actually coming in, walking in the doors, and I'm ready to, okay, I'll take your bags. And he's like, I don't have any bags. I said, okay, what have you got? And literally just emptied out his pockets, and all he had was like a bit of loose change, and that was it. But Teen Challenge, we believe that there is hope for people. That addiction doesn't have to be the end. And you're going to hear about it. I'm going to start off by inviting 3 of our guys, 3 of our amazing individuals here, who are going to give you a presentation. Green one.
Check. Reality. What is reality? Reality is being abandoned by my dad before birth, a young child with thoughts of why he never wanted anything to do with me. Reality is, at the age of 6, sexually abused by a family member and kept a secret for 20 years. Reality is Devastated when my grandfather passed away, my male role model. Reality is that escaping feelings of anger, bitterness, resentment, and rejection, that I would turn to alcohol, which would eventually lead to cocaine and crystal meth. Reality is that my addiction took me to the depths of darkness that I tried to end my life by hooking the exhaust up into the cab of my car. How do I know this is reality? Because that was me.
Reality. Reality is being a self-centered man and thinking it's all about me. Leaving my wife while she was pregnant twice and fighting about everything. Reality is sick and tired of being accused of cheating and lying. I might be a self-centered person, but I'm not a cheater. Reality, grabbing a meth pipe and blocking my pain after me and my wife separate for the last time, leaving her to raise my 3 amazing kids. Reality, working for up to 10 days straight, high on meth, and almost doing something I regret for life. Reality is beating up or getting beat up and stabbed for something I didn't even do. How do I know that's reality? Because that was me.
Reality. Do you want to know what reality is? Reality is growing up in a dysfunctional home, a dysfunctional alcoholic home where I learned to live in fear and anger. Reality is discovering confidence and acceptance in a bottle of booze on the west side of Saskatoon at 9 years old. Reality is 3 decades of crime, drugs, and rock and roll. Reality is marrying my strong, beautiful wife, buying a house, cars, trucks, being a successful carpenter, only to lose everything to a reoccurring crystal meth addiction. Reality is using drugs and committing crime and really hoping to die. And how do I know that was reality? Because that was me.
Although we have different realities, we have all been changed by the same truth. The truth is, to receive and embrace the love of God, my true Father, I'm now free to speak and receive his healing. The truth is that I met Jesus with an excess amount of emotional baggage, and nailed to the cross, he took it all from me. The truth is that in Christ is life, and that life is a light for all of mankind. The light shines into the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. The truth is that Jesus Christ came to set the captives free. I no longer have thoughts of suicide. Jesus Christ saved my life. Psalm 51:6 says, "Behold, you desire truth in the inward part, and in the hidden part you make me to know wisdom."
Truth is, after waking up in the hospital, phoning my wife, who for some reason still loves me, phones my mom, then phones my dad and my brother, having a family unite and give me a second chance of life. Truth is, on February 7th, being baptized and thus beginning my new life, 2 Corinthians 5:17. Truth is, on February 23rd, starting at Teen Challenge, and after about 3 days, getting on my knees and giving all my darkness up to God, and as well as my kids and my wife, just giving everything to him. Truth is, only just after that, calling my ex and my baby mama, she takes me back, and Jesus is slowly starting to show me how to repair my life. Truth is, turning 30 years old and just being happy and sorry at the same time for what I've done, but learning that it is never too late to be the best dad, husband, son, and brother. Matthew 18:13 says, "I tell you the truth, he is happier about the one sheep than about the 99 that did not wander off."
Truth. Truth is that I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior in November of last year in a little house on the prairie in Allen, Saskatchewan. Truth is I'm loved and a loving man in Jesus who found the confidence to turn away from drugs and alcohol. The truth is that I will not allow 30 years of my life to be anything but a witness to the healing power of our Lord Jesus Christ. And truth is that our God is a God of miracles and restoration, has brought me back together with my wife and children, and has saved a wretch like me. Truth is, I am no longer a slave to fear. I'm a child of God. I now turn away from ungodliness. I aim to hit the bullseye with the decisions that my Savior grants me. Revelation 21 verse 4 says, "And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away."
And Jesus said, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free."
Thanks so much, guys. A year ago, I don't think these men thought that they'd be standing in front of a congregation, pouring their hearts out the way they did today. I'm excited to have our first testimony. I've gotten to know this man very well. In fact, he has a way with words that nobody else that I know has. I remember we were at a New Year's Eve party, and once the New Year's Eve party was done, I went upstairs and talking to him, and he spoke to me sarcastically and gave me a joke, and I'm thinking, oh, of course. The beginning of 2016, it's Aaron who gives me a zinger the first time. But I love hearing Aaron speak, and I'm looking forward to hearing him again. So would you please welcome Aaron.
Hi, my name is Aaron Thomas. I got two brothers, Ryan and Jordan. I've been in the program for about 10 months now, and I was taken away from my family. I was 5 years old, and all three of us got taken away. We were in foster care for since I was 21 years old, so about 15 years. I got abused physically, sexually, mentally. And because of that, it led me 15 years of drinking. And it spiraled off and on, and I just didn't know what to do in my life. I was a really, really super hard worker, but I was really just scared of just people. I didn't know what to do and how people just were around me. I just didn't know how to have a relation with people in life, and it's just the way I lived. I went to jail around 2014, 2015. I came out in January. I went to a place I work in Moose Jaw called Wakima Valley. I worked there for about 4 years. I lost that job because of my addiction. I called up my mom and I said, I gotta change because I'm losing everything that I love. Slowly diminishing away. My friend, he runs a place in Moose Jaw called the Riverside Mission. He's like, I heard this thing called Team Challenge, and they actually came 2009 actually to the center in Moose Jaw, to the Riverside Mission. They put on a meal for me and my younger brother. Were staying there, and it was pretty cool. And my younger brother was gonna get in, but he went to jail for 3 years. So I didn't know what to do, and I was just lost. I packed my bags and I went to Saskatoon here, and I went to a thing called the Lighthouse. I just my normal routine, and I ran into a guy named Tommy, and he graduated from the program, and it was neat to see a guy that graduated from the program, and he just had everything. His face just shone, and I was kind of a smoker, and he was so happy, and he wanted to pray for me, and I thought he was crazy. So then he prayed for me, and he says, I'm going to help you get into Team Challenge. He got me a bed on Wednesday, January the 8th. I walked in there scared as ever. And that night I gave myself to the Lord at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I didn't know what to do. I had emphysema from the doctors. They told me I had 5 years to live if I kept smoking. I basically started crying. There was a picture inside the foyer. I grabbed it and I was speaking in tongue. I was praying so fast I didn't even know what I was saying. And God has restored me. He's made me a better person inside and outside. I'm not so angry. I don't feel judgmental anymore. I got freedom in Christ. That helped me with all the things I forgot to just forgive people. Simple thing. And I also got baptized in October at Ranger Lake, and we're going to be going to Ranger Lake again, so it's pretty awesome. And the awesome thing about being a team challenger, these guys here, because we have like probably about 19 guys right now, but sometimes there's up to 24 guys around Christmas time, and it gets a little crazy, like a hen house in there. But you get to learn. It grows on you. The Lord does not look at the things that man look at. The outward appearance, he looks at the heart. Samuel 16:17. And I don't know what it is about me, but I have a saying that it doesn't matter what you do in your life, God sees whatever you do. So that's kind of what I think about whatever I do things now. Just God's looking down on me, and he's going to change me. So thank you.
You're just mentioning Tommy, who's been such an asset with Teen Challenge since he graduated from the program. His involvement in our program has been incredible. Our next testimony. Oh, did I do something wrong? I think I went back too far. There we are. Our next testimony is from an incredible guy, and he's not the greatest morning person. So when I found out that I was doing an outreach and over in near the Swift Current area, and I knew we had a 5:45 a.m. wake up, I said, "Please let me take Matt with us. Please let me take Matt." Not just because I want to see his response at 5:45 in the morning, but because he has an amazing testimony. I've heard it before, and I'm excited to hear it again. So please welcome Matt.
Hello. Hold on. Okay. Hi. My name is Matthew S., and I was born in Zambia, Africa. I grew up in a broken home. The last memory I have of my father was him and my mother fighting over which one of them was going to get custody over me. I remember pulling away in my mother's car as all three of us wept. My mother and I in the car, and my father in the driveway. So that was the last time I can remember seeing my father alive. I never really spent too much time with him, so it didn't really affect me, or at least I thought. A few years passed, then my mother decided it was time for a big change. She said it was time we moved to the U.S. So she and my stepfather at the time moved and left me and my brother to live with our grandparents. We lived with them for 2 years while my mother was getting set up in the U.S. This was a really hard time for me. I did a lot of crying and didn't understand why my mother left us behind. Life went on, and when I was 8, our family was reunited once again. Life in the U.S. was good because our family was together, but we were constantly moving, so the relationship I had with friends were fleeting, and I never really felt at home. So once again, my parents had another big change in store for us. It was time to move to Canada. At first, I wasn't too keen on this decision, and I thought, how could my parents be doing this to me again? We moved to a little town called Chippewa, Ontario, and once again, I made new friends, and I was really enjoying my time in Chippewa. Then, surprise, surprise, it was time for another move. This time, it was to Calgary. At this point in my life, I really started to resent my parents and began to question whether or not they knew what was best for me. I didn't understand it then, but this was what was best for the family. So life went on and my family was doing really well in a monetary sense. My mother was taking my siblings and I to church, but our home was still lacking spiritually. Once I got into high school, what faith I had was quickly diminished. I slowly started to hang out with the wrong crowd and started smoking marijuana. At this point, I began to feel as though I was on the outside looking in on my family. I took my focus off school and focused more on socializing and going to house parties. Halfway through grade 10, I was selling marijuana and smoking it daily. New Year's of grade 11 was the first time I tried cocaine and started experimenting with other drugs. By the time I was 18, I was selling cocaine to support my addiction. At this point in my life, I was suffering from a lot of inward turmoil. I wasn't happy with the person I looked at in the mirror, so I masked him with drugs and alcohol. I was causing an excessive amount of pain to everyone around me, including myself. I got myself into a severe amount of debt to the wrong people. I somehow managed to get out though, but shortly after, I was walking down the same path. The day I decided to start selling drugs again, I was picked up for warrants. Although I didn't get charged with possession, I promised myself I would never sell drugs again. Even though I put that life behind me, I was still battling with a cocaine addiction. This continued on for the next 2 years. Until one day, in the midst of my addiction and after a long period of partying and being up for a few days, I started to question whether there was more to life than this. This was the first time in 4 years I actually thought about putting my addiction behind me. In the next few months, I had a few periods of sobriety, as well as a few slip-ups. And then one day, my mother heard about Teen Challenge through her church. Upon doing my research, I found out it was a year-long faith-based rehab. I'm not going to lie, I had cold feet. But my mother, being the great mother she is, helped me get prepared, and within 4 days, I was in the program. So far, Teen Challenge has had a huge impact on me. Even though it gets tough at times and it might be the hardest decisions I've ever made, honestly, it's one of the best decisions I have ever made. Being here has strengthened my relationship with God and my family. It has also given me time away from drugs, which has cleared my head and given me an idea of what my future is going to look like. Thank you. And happy Mother's Day. Thanks.
I would love to see Matt and Aaron get sponsored. And I pray that that happens today. But I'm going to speak about that a little bit later. For right now, I want to speak about some opportunities coming. I mentioned a great need for growth at Teen Challenge. And that's definitely true. We have a golf tournament happening. There's 2 in June. One of them's actually in the Melford area. And yeah, it's in Melford. Oh, it's in Melford. There you go. So if you have any interest in being, either if you are a golfer, you're welcome to join in and register, or you can decide to sponsor. A number of our students are going to be golfing themselves, so if you want to sponsor them, just come to the back and speak to us afterwards. We would love to tell you a little bit more about that. And part of that, the proceeds at the golf tournament, we're going through the growth that we need at Teen Challenge. And one of the biggest things is a women's center in Saskatchewan. Yeah. Man, I want to see that happen. We have the land available to us near the Hague area. In fact, about 2 years ago, when we were first proposing to Hague that we wanted to do this, we actually got a lot of nervous letters, response about the idea of having a center with a bunch of former or current drug addicts. And I actually had to go to Allen, Saskatchewan, and I actually had to go door to door to businesses. I went to the mayor's house, I went to the post office, I went to farmers, and I got 14 letters, different letters from different people of all walks of life, from the mayor, businesses, individuals, farmers, and they responded with where they felt there was a benefit of having the Teen Challenge program there. There is not one business in the Allen area that Teen Challenge hasn't been involved in one way or another. There's a playground, brand new one, put in Allen about 2 years ago that Teen Challenge was involved in. We've helped to renovate the pool. We've helped to renovate houses. We've helped to renovate farmland. We've actually helped to pick up grain over there. So through all that, we've got the approval now for Hague. Now all we need is the funding. And I know it's coming. I believe in it with God. But all I can tell you is addiction, not just a male problem. So yeah, we need the funds to make that happen. I really want to go into what is very personal for me. Because I've been with Teen Challenge now for 8 years. And when I first got involved with Teen Challenge, and I heard this 70% success rate, I didn't believe it. I really didn't. Because when you hear about the secular programs, it's about a 10% for anybody who finishes those programs. 10% of those people are off their addiction. So when I heard 70%, I didn't believe it. So when I was going for my master's at Briarcrest Seminary, I actually did an 8-month study of Teen Challenge Saskatchewan. And I spent 8 months communicating with graduates and graduates' families and those who dropped out and their families. And I found some interesting statistics. First one I found out is, as of 2011, after I finished my paper, I found out that currently in Teen Challenge Saskatchewan, 69% of all those who graduate from Teen Challenge Saskatchewan were off drugs and alcohol. But I also found another statistic. And that statistic was that of all those who come into our program, only 40% make it to graduation. So 60% leave, whether it's in their first month, third month, 5th, 11th month. And I found it didn't matter when in their program they left, the number was still the same. Of those who leave the program early, only 10% of those people are off drugs and alcohol. Isn't it interesting how it's literally the exact same as the secular programs? And again, I had to figure out, why is this? And I could only come up with one thing. You see, the secular world's view of sobriety is different than I found out Teen Challenge is. Secular world view of sobriety is that sobriety simply means not using for however long, whether it's a month, 3 weeks, however long the program is, not using. But after 8 years of being with Teen Challenge, I found out true sobriety means replacing your addiction with something else. And I believe that's only one thing. You have to replace your addiction. Oh, did I do that? You have to replace your addiction with Jesus. Amen. Hallelujah. I pray for sponsors to come for these people, and we'll help you. If you haven't yet received one of these, maybe you have, but if you haven't, we can find you plenty at the table. You just need to fill it out, and we can help you at the back there. If you fill out these to become a sponsor, you can grab a photograph to take home right away. It costs $40 a month or $480 annually to sponsor a student. The money's important. I can't get, that's part of it, but that's only part of it. Yes, the money's important. As I mentioned, some guys come into our program with nothing but the shirts in their back, which means we got to provide for everything: their toiletries, the clothing. We have an amazing donation blessings program, which has been so helpful to our student body. It costs on average about $48,000 a year for one student to go through our program, and that's with heat, As we said, clothing, food, shelter, all of that. As I said, that's only part of what it means to be a sponsor. I cannot tell you how many times a student has come to me and said, I was thinking of leaving the program, and then I got a letter from a sponsor. Someone I've never met before, encouraging me to keep going. And the way I really like to stress out sponsorships is with a story that has really come to mean a lot more to me now, being with Teen Challenge, and that's from the Gospel of John, chapter 11, the story of Lazarus. The story goes like this. Jesus' friend Lazarus is sick and dying, and his family comes to Jesus and say to him, can you please come? We hear that you help heal people. And she's like, just wait, just hang on. And when he finally goes, it's too late. Lazarus is dead and gone. And they're like, if you just came earlier, Jesus said, just wait, just hang on. And they go to Lazarus' tomb. Now, there's a phrase that I used to think was a biblical passage. And when I start this, the rest of you will be able to finish it off. It goes, God helps those who help themselves. Now, even though that's not a biblical passage, there is some truth I find in it. But I prefer putting it this way. God wants you to do your part so that he can then do his part. This is what happens. So Jesus is at the tomb. And he does something very interesting. He goes to the people around him. And he says, you guys, move the stone. And they move the stone. And only then does Jesus say, Lazarus, come forth. And then when Lazarus comes forth with all the burial wrappings on him, he goes to the others and say, you, move the bandages. Now this is the Son of God, God in human form. Don't you think that if he really wanted to, that he's strong enough to move the stone himself? That's not what he wanted to do. He wanted the people around him to do their part so that he can then do his part. You see, truth of the matter is, we can't change a life. Teen Challenge doesn't change the life. You can't, I can't. But what we can do is point these people to the one that can change their life. And that's the challenge I have for everybody here. The challenge to be a stone mover. Become a sponsor. Not only do you get to financially help them, but you're going to receive updates on how they are doing, and you get to help encourage them. Send them letters. People send, through a program we have, people send emails. You have a chance to help point them to the one that can change their life. There are people who come to our program who have no, church background whatsoever. There's some people that their first exposure is in Teen Challenge. And that's what I'm asking of all of you today, to consider that. Consider helping to point these men to the one that can change their life. To finish off, I just want to invite all the guys over. I just want to start off, first off, if each guy would say their name and how long they've been in the program.
I'm Chris. I'm in my 8th month.
Matt, and I've been in the program for 5 months.
My name is Spencer, and I'm a former grad. I came back to do a 6-month refresher, and now I'm doing the internship.
Hi, my name is Aaron, and I've been in the program for 10 months.
My name is Brett. I've been in the program for 2 months.
My name is Devin, and 2 months as well.
So, I'll welcome you, Pastor, up.
Perfect.
And again, just keep open to being a stone mover.
Amen. Thanks, guys. There's no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear because fear involves punishment, and the one who fears is not perfected in love. You want to turn that around? There is no faith if you don't have love, because fear is the opposite of faith.